What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about MicroStrategy today, MSTR. Hit that like button, you guys. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and let's get into it, my friends. Here we are on this, the 15th of April, resting at about $310 as it stands, $310.72 at the close. We came down a little bit after hours here, it seems. We are, yes, 2 days into the week now. We've got a little bit more time left. Up 3%, 3.5% actually, and having a nice reaction with our weekly RSI. If we're looking at this here, bouncing off the 40 like that is a good way to be. You did this last time, or from a little bit higher, and that resulted in the last move up that you had. You bounced here. It wasn't at your low, but it was at a relative low, right? It was a higher low, but it was still a relative low, and you're one of the lower weekly closing lows. In fact, that was your lowest weekly closing low. Anyways, over here, this bounce happened a little while ago, but tomato, it's kind of the same thing, right? You bounced, or you had this first bounce, second bounce, and then you climbed higher. You had this first bounce, second bounce, and now we might be climbing higher. We'll see how it goes. If we're looking at this from a high to a low from this last consolidation phase using the Fibonacci extension tool or retracement tool and extensions, the price did go just above the 2272, pulling back all the way to the 1272, finding support there. That's kind of a classic setup and likely does suggest that you're going to see the next levels being hit. The next level being $604, $725, $847, and if you get above the orange area here, and I think that you will, you are basically guaranteed to see 1200 to 1340, something like that, as a possible target by the end of this next move. Now, you could go higher. It's very possible that you could go higher, but I think personally this is the area to look for. I don't think that you stop lower. I don't think that you stop higher. I think that right there in the middle at about 1200 to 1340, that's probably the target area that I would best assume. But anything can happen. But that's just looking forward. Looking at the weekly RSI, the growth that we had last time, the growth that we could see this time, I mean, just in comparison from that low, not the low of the overall area, but just the low like right before you got going here. Same thing with this one. If it'll let me, let's see. Something like that, yeah. That would take you, I mean, that's pretty damn close. You see what I'm saying? That's pretty damn close. So I definitely believe that MicroStrategy is on its way to prices that are above $1,000. I just think that maybe first you see a little bit of a pullback, right? The reason why I think we'll see a little bit of a pullback is I think Bitcoin's going to go down. I will say MicroStrategy, if Bitcoin's pullback is not that significant, if it's kind of, again, insignificant, if it doesn't really matter and it's boring, very shallow kind of pullback, then MicroStrategy could actually grow. We've seen it where Bitcoin does sometimes go down and MicroStrategy does sometimes go up. That doesn't happen too often, but the times that it does happen is whenever Bitcoin's not dumping. So a small drop could enable MicroStrategy to continue to grow. But I am assuming, even with it being a small drop, a 5% drop, maybe a 3%, 3.5% drop could be headed its way for Bitcoin from its current price. Based on that, looking at MicroStrategy, I would guess that we'd probably see a drop that's bigger than that. So something that's 5% or bigger might be on the table. If we're looking at this here from about 310.72, a 5% drop or more would enable us to see about a $295 price, something below $300. So not financial advice, not a financial advisor. I don't think that this is the biggest concern to worry about, right? We've got a lot bigger concerns to address as far as what you should be worried about missing out on, and that's the upside. Don't miss this chance if you're looking to invest in MicroStrategy. We're at very low prices now. Not financial advice, not a financial advisor, but I think it's a perfectly fine time to buy here, even at $310. But with that being said, if you wait a day or two, perhaps you'll have a slight discount. Maybe it'll be 5%. Maybe if Bitcoin drops 4% or 5% itself, maybe MicroStrategy drops 10%. I suppose that anything from maybe, I could say about like 270 to 295 seems like a doable area to me, and we're at 310 now. That's not crazy. You could buy here and hold through that and it wouldn't even matter. But if you want to buy at more ideal prices, quote unquote, and I would think that it is more ideal, but you never know. The only reason why I throw quotes on there is that I don't know if it's going to happen. This might be the most ideal price if we don't pull back and we just continue to grow, right? But if these prices do come to fruition over the coming days, if you just wait, I think that you'd have a better opportunity to buy. Not financial advice, not a financial advisor. Do whatever you want. Buy if you want to buy. Sell if you want to sell. But this is definitely, if there's anything that I'm saying, I'm definitely not saying sell. Okay, let's continue. Looking at the daily RSI here, pretty neutral. That's why I'm not too worried about this drop. I don't think that it's going to be a big deal, but just very neutral on the RSI. I think getting above this level here at about 340 is going to be a big deal. Of course, getting above 400 will be a big deal as well. And then ultimately 445, that's the area to beat. Once we get above that, we're looking to the sky, you guys. Looking at this on a 3-hour time frame, RSI looks fine, but a little bit ready to go to the downside, it seems, in my opinion. Right, you moved up here with good volume. You started to move up here, but volume's dying off and you're rolling over a bit. I'm very convinced that you do go to the downside. But again, that's not me saying sell, and I don't think that we're going to see a lower low than this. I just think, maybe 270, 295, somewhere in that area. I'd probably lean closer to that 290, 295 area, but who knows. And then looking out, zooming out a little bit, looking into the future, if we can, I would expect or anticipate that we see prices above $1,000 by the end of this next move. How long is it going to be? When does this next move end? When are we going to see those prices? I would think probably by the end of June. That's my expectation. I mean, if we go here, we look at how long it took for the last move to kind of come to full force from this low to that high. That was about 11 weeks there. If we started last week, and I think that we did, 11 weeks, I mean, that puts us literally right at the end of June. So something of a similar kind of time frame, maybe a little bit later. It could be, maybe early July. Maybe it's earlier. Maybe we're in mid-June or early June. But something around 11 weeks from now is what I would, or 11 weeks, I guess 10 weeks, 9 weeks from now. 9 weeks from now, that's what I'm expecting. Okay, I've got nothing else for you guys. Hit the like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you on the next one. Prepare for a little bit of a drop over the coming days, and then we'll probably start to recover going into the end of this week, going into next week, stuff like that. All right, bye-bye.